I am Omega Autumnus. I have entered this dimension to recruit you. What? This is not the portal to my secret cult? This is the book promotion? Oh, damn. Hi, everybody. Michael H. Hansen here. I am the managing editor of Copper Dog Publishing, which basically has three sub-publishing units. The biggest one is Moondream Press, which handles everything science fiction, fantasy, and horror. And then we have Pumpkin Hill Press, which is for children. And then we have Racket River Press, which is for mainstream poetry. Now, this is the first of what will be a series of videos promoting all the various volumes and books that we have available right now. Most of them on Amazon. Most of them are audiobooks. We do have ebooks for most of what we have on the shelves, as it were, though there's a couple of things we don't. And this very first project I'm promoting is for the Moondream Press label, as it were. And one of the first books that came out for that was the first book in the Sha'Daa series. You can see some of the Sha'Daa books up here. But the very first one that I'm going to be talking about and promoting on this video on the Moondream Press YouTube channel is Sha'Daa, Tales of the Apocalypse. So this first video will be a little bit boring because I want to give you a little bit of background on what the Sha'Daa is, and then I'll be discussing the book itself, talking about the authors in it, and hopefully convincing you to either purchase this version or the Kindle version, or we do have the book available on Audible, and we have a really great voice talent that did just a fantastic job on it. So what is the Sha'Daa? Imagine that once every 10,000 years throughout the history of the planet Earth, all the portals and all the barriers that separate Earth from all the hell dimensions in existence, all those portals grew weak and thin for a period of 48 hours, the 48 hours around the summer solstice. So that means once every 10,000 years, going back until the Earth was actually created or born or whatever, this event happened. And if just one of those thousands of portals opened up, if just one of thousands of hell dimensions broke through into the Earth would have been destroyed. All life on it would have been destroyed. So that begs the question, how did Earth survive all of these once every 10,000 year events? How come there's no record of that? Well, almost 10,000 years ago when the last event occurred, there's no real record. And basically any records that might have existed in primordial organizations, civilizations before that were just wiped out over time by the passage of time. So yes, the last Sha'Daa, the mother of all apocalypses, occurred almost 10,000 years ago, which means the next Sha'Daa occurs in the very near future. And all the books pretty much take place during that 48 hours. You can read them in any order because they all take place on the same 48 hours in the near future. Now, we never mention who the president is. We never mention who a particular movie star is who's popular at this time. We never mention a day of the week or whether it's the week or the weekend because we don't want to date, as it were, when this takes place. So knowing all of that, knowing that this terrible thing is going to happen, how would Earth survive this? Well, there's hints on how we survived the last Sha'Daa. And how we survive it in the very first book is there is a character, a godlike character, a frighteningly powerful character who seems to be restricted in some mysterious way in that he or it cannot directly interfere in the event of the Sha'Daa, except he's found like a loophole. And his loophole is he can make a trade with anybody. And it could be for anything that they have on their person, in their pocket, in their knapsack, whatever. And the funny thing is, it'll be something that you really want to keep. Maybe it was a watch your father gave you just before he died. You know, maybe it's a love letter from a woman whom you never forgot, or a man you never forgot. Whatever it is, it's what you need. And he has it. And you need to get that object from him that he's got hidden in his trench coat in a seemingly bottomless pocket. Because the object that he'll have, which also will seem innocuous, is something that's going to help you. It might save your life. It might save the world. It might open or close a portal. It might give you a certain power. It might have a power of its own. It's different in every single story. So this has been described sometimes as a bit Lovecraftian, but it's not set in the Lovecraft universe. So whenever anybody talks about Lovecraft, it's talking about evil creatures and gods from beyond. and how they're always in the shadow and how they're ready to break through into what we think is a normal, stable world. And Sha'Daa Tales of the Apocalypse are all tales of things coming through portals and doorways, magical barriers that grow thin and unfortunately are going to break. And who's going to stop them all? Well, it's people, people like you and me, people without special abilities and special powers. Sometimes there's mercenaries involved and heroes, other times there's ordinary people. And they won't all survive. Sometimes great sacrifice is needed. And so I'd like to talk a little bit about why you should read Sha'Daa Tales of the Apocalypse. It's not quite a group novel. It's a lot looser than that, but it's so much more than a theme anthology. We have the common character of Johnny the salesman, who's that weird person who always seems to be partly in shadow, who always wears a trench coat and a black fedora hat. And when he smiles, he's got a weird gold tooth right over here, his left lateral incisor. Always attracts attention. Never seems to be bothered by the heat, the cold, none of that. And the authors that are in this first volume, but like I said, the volumes can be read in any order whatsoever. They are the late C.J. Henderson, a wonderful fantasy pulp author who passed away a few years ago. Myself, Michael H. Hansen, Edward F. McEwen, who is the editor, the official Sha'Daa editor, as you'll see among the credits here, for a lot of these books, for most of them. But he's also an author in them. Arthur Sanchez, Sarah Wagner, Deborah Corin, Jamie Schmidt, D.R. McMaster, Jason Cordova, Nancy Jackson, and Leanne Kuruganti. Now, we do not have the same author in all the books. We were able to find a number of people, and what I really love about it is we're able to find some people at conventions who had never actually been published before. And so I'm really proud of the Sha'Daa series, being a place that a lot of new authors came to. Though we have a lot of well-known authors like C.J. Henderson in this, and in some other books that I'll be talking about in the future on the Moondream Press YouTube channel. I'd like to say that this was not something that just sprang on the scene. It's not just some self-published venture that I started. I wanted to get out there. It took 5 years for the first book to come out. And this is actually the second edition with a very different cover that reflects the visual theme that we have throughout all the other covers on the system. We took a long time to find. Ed McEwen and I took a long time to find a press. Before that, it took a long time to find an agent. And we actually, after completion of the first book, it took us 5 years before we went to print. And that was the first edition, had a different cover. It was with a different press than Moondream. And that was our first two books came out with a different press. Then we found a second press. One more book came out. And finally, I decided I wanted to put this out myself. And so I had to incorporate and create a business, which is Copper Dog Publishing, which is based in Colorado, where I now live. And we have about 18 volumes out from a number of different authors, collections, novels, other things that I'll be talking about in the future. And Sha'Daa Tales of the Apocalypse, it's our first baby, the first thing we put out. I'm still very proud of it. Recently, we had it recorded through ACX and is now available on Audible. And that's a fantastic audio production I think you should check out. I really think you'll like it. And I think I will finish this video by reading one of the short little segments that are between all of the larger chapters. And this is like one of the shorter interludes. And this interlude I wrote myself, and it is titled A Cold Dish. It had been a long journey across Europe, escaping the jagged stone boundaries of Romania, hiding from the mystics in Budapest, evading starving thieves in Bratislava, fleeing youth gangs in Poland, then finally crossing the border into Germany. He'd walked the entire way. Over 700 years ago, he had used the force of fantastic powers to transport himself and his booty of human flesh across these same miles until a portal opened in the very air over the mountainous landscape of Transylvania. For decades, he had lived like a king, creating his own gypsy band and fathering dozens of bastard children from the flock he had brought with him. However, in time, the offspring of his offspring grew wise and daring. In a moment of betrayal, they stripped him of his power and imprisoned him beneath a great stone slab deep within an ancient mountain cavern. For hundreds of years, he waited and dreamed his vengeance. Revenge was a craft in which he had no peer. Then the time came, and a spare shell from one of the innumerable European conflicts exploded upon his mountain, cracking it and exposing his prison to the sun and air. He was free. Leaving the mighty Deutsche Autobahn highway behind him and walking down this narrow paved road, he could feel his powers returning. The 10,000-year interval known as the Sha'Daa had come full circle, and beings and creatures such as himself were feeding on the dark, mana-enriched ether rapidly spreading over the earth. Standing on the outskirts of this German village, which had changed so much over the years, he smiled. The descendants of the families that had bred those traitors, those bastards who had imprisoned him for endless years, these descendants would pay. Der Rottenfunger removed his small hand-carved wooden flute and began to play. In seconds, thousands of frenzied, slavering rats and mice gathered into a mighty horde throughout the fields surrounding the village. The piper had returned to Hamelin. Sha'Daa Tells the Apocalypse, created by Michael H. Hansen, edited by Edward McEwen, and including an introduction by the late, great Mike Resnick. Thank you.